Oh,
Yeah, I can send you the link afterwards.
okay, sure. Okay. So, hi everyone. My name is Eric, and I am a student, music student at San Francisco State University. And I'm interested in doing film and game scoring, and also want to be a classical composer too. The first music that music style that I actually ever wrote in was video game music, and that's kind of like my first language. And I have an interesting background in that I actually grew up listening to the video game soundtracks without having played the actual games themselves. So I'm just really focused on the music without having actually had the hands-on experience. Which kind of puts me in a unique position. I've taken some game scoring classes at our school, and we have a sort of a game scoring program here. And we do the typical stuff where we work on video game projects. We work with middleware and Unity, but we don't actually have actual courses on game composition itself. And I find that I last semester I ended up teaching a course called Writing Japanese Video Game Music at our school as a student lecturer, and it was a first of its own kind course in this sort of content. And I feel that as Western composers, we should better understand Japanese video game music because that's basically half of the most legendary. I mean, most of the most legendary music, in my opinion, video game music is written coming from Japan, and we have like at least a responsibility to actually understand the literature. So that's kind of what I wanted to accomplish with my class, and it was a video game composition course where we looked at one soundtrack per week. So titles like Silent Hill, Chrono Cross, Chrono Trigger, um, Final Fantasy, and some bullet hell game titles and orchestral video game music, but all strictly Japanese video game music. Um, and What else? Yeah, that's kind of the gist of it. I was hoping to create a sort of class where we would focus on game composition. And so in this presentation today, I'm going to give basically a crash course of what I taught last semester and just walk you guys through some video game tracks, Japanese video game tracks, and show you some practical techniques that you guys can use in your own music, and also ways of studying and practicing um, uh, game composition. All right, so I'll get started with my presentation. Share sound. All right, are you guys seeing that right now? Awesome. Okay, so yeah, title of my presentation is Writing Japanese Video Game Music, a primer on game composition. So again, to reiterate, my philosophy is that we should examine the literature and extract lessons, like techniques that we can use for our own music. And we should, as Western composers, should better understand Japanese VGM. And also, we should treat video game music with the same level of respect as any other great music genre, such as jazz, film music, and even classical, because there are masterworks in Japanese video game music that are just on par in sophistication and just masterfulness as other genres. Okay, so as with any other music style, there are only a finite number of elements that pop up in video game music, and they're mainly the form, aka the structure of the music, the melody, the harmony, and the arrangement. And sometimes I include rhythm. You can include other things too, but these are sort of the main ones, and rhythm is kind of intertwined with all the other four. And in a sense too, like all these things are also interconnected. And so you study the form, melody, and harmony through basically the lead sheets and arrangement through the MIDI transcriptions, which brings me to my next slide. Yeah, so lead sheets gives you the outline of the piece. It's like jazz lead sheets. So you study all those the big picture stuff, and with the MIDI transcriptions, you can actually examine the actual writing. They're not always accurate, but it's kind of what we have. Video game music is unique in that we don't have a whole lot of study materials the way we do in jazz or classical. It's kind of similar to film, but film music you can sometimes get access to film scores. And lastly, this is something I came up with, which is a form chart, and I'll show you later. But that gives you a combination of both. It's kind of similar to what you see in academic papers, where they give you the structural components of entire pieces. So I find that something that is overlooked in video game music sometimes is just the structure, and sometimes the word pop song structure is used for video game music, and I find that an inaccurate description because I don't find that video game music usually follows like the verse, chorus, or pre-chorus, or even bridge structures. That's not really how video game music works. Rather, I find this is a notation that I just stole from classical music. So you can use a I for intro, and then you have your regular A, B, C, D sections, and then you have an O for outro. And something special here is when the intro section uses the same harmony as the A section, you can notate that as IA subscript, and then T is for transpose if an entire section is transposed. All right, so here are some basic forms. You can take a look: ABC, AABC, IABC with an intro, or IAB. So really simple forms just to give you an idea. I'm gonna head right to our first tune now. So our first tune is going to be Heart of Fire from Castlevania, and it's everybody knows that title. It's Gothic chiptune, and it was 1984. So we're just gonna look at it, listen to it, and follow the lead sheet. You guys are hearing that? So that's the end of the tune where it starts looping. So the structure of this piece is IABC. I is lowercase here because it's shorter than the rest of the sections. Not all the sections have equal number of bars here. Sometimes they do. They have I like it when it lines up perfectly, where it's like 8 bars every single section, but not in this case. So we have that intro. What is noticeable about here is that actually harmonically, this is a tool that happens over and over in a lot of Japanese video game music, is the use of that progression 1 flat 1 flat 7 flat 6 or some sort of combination of that. It occurs so often, and I'm going to show some other examples where it keeps on popping up in another tune. So basically, this entire piece, the A section is made up of that 1 flat 6 and flat 7 progression. Same deal here with the B section, 1 flat 7 flat 6. Though it's descending to a 5 as well here, but the main chords are there. And then again, 1 flat 7 flat 6 occurs in the C section too, with a little bit other chords here. So that's harmonically. That's a harmonic tool that you can use, a 1 flat 7 flat 6, very classic sound. And melodically, we have a sort of contrasting section in the B section right here. We start off with an A and a C. Or sorry, we start off with an A with da 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 da. So that's like a call and response. Da 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 da. So call and response. Da 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 da. So it's like a very stuttering rhythm. But in the B section, we contrast it where it's a consecutive 16 notes. Da 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 da. It's very it's what I call you could think of it as a strong section. So there are weak sections and strong sections in music, or video game music. You have to think in terms of the energy levels within each section, whether this is like it's like stronger or weaker, whether it's like a build-up section. In this case, I could think of this as a strong section. Well, that's a B section, and then we come back to the C section where it's so again, that rhythm comes back, which is more similar to the stuttering A section. So again, these are two tools that you can use. This idea of contrasting sections, so strong and weak sections, and then that basic harmonic progression that we looked at, one flat 6 and flat 7, which is a staple in Japanese video game music. Next tune is going to be The Secret of the Forest from Chrono Trigger. And this is Yasuruni Mitsuda, another legendary composer. And his style is more drawing from the jazz and folk sound and blending that into his own unique video game music sound. We are just going to, so the structure of this piece is also IABC essentially, but in this case, we start off with an intro IA. So the intro section has the exact same harmony as the A section. And here, the A section, we have, we change instruments, the melodic instruments throughout the different sections. And that is another technique that you can use, changing instruments in between sections. Here, we start with the flute and then same harmony, but with piano. And then in the B section, we change the melody to the string takes the melody. And what else? Another interesting thing is too, the A section here only have 2 chords. It's just that G flat major 9 and F minor 9th chords. It's a basically 2 chord section. But when we get to the B section, the harmonic rhythm speeds up. We have just more chords in that section. And then lastly, when we get to the C section, that's our contrasting section, and that's our weak section where the entire groove changes. Yeah, so we're just going to listen with that in mind. So yeah, we start off with a riff. Piano takes the melody. Or it's sort of echoing what we just heard before. contrasting weak section. The entire groove changes here. And then we loop. So in just this small example, we can see just so many techniques and tools that we can use in our own compositions. We can start off with an intro section where the harmony is the same as the A section. We could use riffs, which is a tool that is used over and over in all sorts of video game literature. And here in the A sections, the A sections, we started with that flute, and it's just a flute melody over two simple chords. And this next time we hear it, the piano takes the melody, but it sort of echoes what we had before. And the melody is a little bit different, and the rhythm's a little bit more dun 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 dun. It's a little bit more ornamented, a little bit more echoey, and dun 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 dun. So that dun 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 is kind of a echoey effect. And then we have our B section, which this time the string takes the melody, and here we build a little bit more intensity. The energy level, the volume of the piece is a little bit higher here. It's kind of like building up, sort of a climactic point here. And throughout this entire part of the piece, before we get to C, the riff stays throughout. Oops, or not that one. It just stays throughout the piece. This all throughout this section. That's A section. A1 section, the riff is still there. It adapts to the progression, but when we get to the C section, we drop that riff. You don't hear it anymore. The rhythm is different. You just don't hear the riff anymore. There you go. And when you loop, you bring it back in. So these are just some techniques that he used. So again, that's a melodic technique. So change the melody instruments in a new section. Harmony, change the harmonic rhythm, just use more chords. Arrangement technique using riffs and then adding and dropping layers. In C section, you drop the riff there. So now we looked at two pieces with lead sheets, and they're super useful when you can have access to them. I purchased an entire book on Amazon, which was like I think it was like the official transcription of pieces from Chrono Trigger, the entire soundtrack. And VG lead sheets is a good resource too, but they're not exhaustive. So that's the first way of looking at video game literature and studying it, through lead sheets. My second way here is through form charts, and just move this over here. So you guys can see that, right? Yeah, passing through the forest. That's right. So this next tune is Passing Through the Forest, and it's by composer Junya Nakano, who is known for his minimalist ambient style. Yasunori Mitsuda is also pretty minimalist too, but not always. So this was in 1999. Again, we have that's the same techniques again. So form, we have a contrasting weak section here. Harmonic rhythm also changes. we have riffs. We start off with a riff and we add and drop layers. But this time though, he uses a new harmonic technique, which is transposing a section. So exactly the same harmony, here, but just transposed to B flat minor. So we start off in G minor. And we just have these, if it's very similar structurally, we have that section where we just have 2 chords for entire the A sections, and the intro has it's an IA, which means the intro section has the same harmony as the A section. Second time through the A though, we transpose it, and also the clarinet takes the melody. Same way that Yasura Mitsuda changed his instrument in the second A. Here we start with guitar and the clarinet takes it, and then B section, the harmonic rhythm speeds up again, and he also drops the riff. Very similar. So let's listen. Here's a riff. Oh yeah, by the way too, these form charts, they work really well for certain types of video game music, in that you can break everything down into 8-bar lines. Really, a section is just 8 bars, and so you have that first half, which would be the antecedent, and the second half, which would be the consequent. So thought I'd point that out. And here, when I grade these parts, that's when we add in layers. So it's possibly a lot to take in at once, but once you follow along, notice when the gray stuff, so drums come in, bass comes in, guitar, snare. So just adding layers, and we'll see them drop in the B section. Bass comes in. Perfect. Guitar melody. Clarinet takes it. I work in both flat lines. Section. This is our weak section. So that's our loop point. I don't know, was that easy to follow for you guys? It's a lot of stuff at once, but it's boiled down into, yeah, you guys were following along? Awesome. Yeah, so again, to reiterate, we saw how the layers of different instruments came in with this piece. The drums came in, the bass came in, guitars came in, snare, etc. But all of that dropped once we got to the B section, where it was our basically our again, we dropped the riff the same way Yasuda and Mitsuda dropped the riff in his C section, not B section. But we don't have a C section in this piece. And harmonically, again, to reiterate, we only had a 1 chord and a 1 minor 7 chord and a 4 minor 7 chord in the entire I sections and A sections. And then the harmonic rhythm changes here. Weak section, what else? Melody changes. He does both. So that is one technique. If you want to be fancy, you can change the melodic instrument and transpose at once. Like use two techniques at once, which was what he did here. Let's see. So that's basically it. So again, what he did harmonically was transpose that one A section, the second A section. Form-wise, he used intro and IA, which was also what Yasuda Mitsuda did, an IA. He had form-wise, he did a contrasting weak section. You guys heard that, right? When he dropped, yeah, he dropped the. Also, something interesting he does here too. Even though the clarinet melody there, it's also, even though the harmony is the same, the melody was just a lot more fast too. So he did a little bit of variation there. That's the guitar melody. Very chill, relaxing. It's more bouncy. It's more bouncy. So there he changed the rhythmic character of the melody as well. So he did a whole bunch of things to contrast that second A section, transpose, change the melody instrument, and change the character. And then he drops everything in the B section. All right, on to tune 4. Tune 4. Oh, did not mean to drop that. All right, so and our fourth tune will be from this.
Eric, just before we start, like Zoom is gonna like run out of time, like 90 minutes. So if when that happens, I'm just gonna like reset the room, and then you can use the same link, and we just so we can.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just like.
Okay.
Yeah, just like we don't have like Zoom Premium anymore, so that's weird. But yeah, very sorry about that.
Okay, so in 9 minutes, right?
Yeah. Yeah, okay. Now just like just use the same link or just like.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I'll do that. Okay, sure. Okay. So our fourth tune is from this game called XIII, and it's a bullet hell arcade game by Manabu Namiki. So everything we listened up to so far were like a chiptune game and then JRPGs. This is a bullet hell game, so stylistically it's different. It's just more it's more intense because it's a shmup. It's a bullet hell game. So this was in 2003, and again, a lot of similar techniques here. So melodically, do you change the character? He does a sort of a riff thing. He does use a sort of a riff, but it's in the bass line, so it plays a bit of a more, I guess, like fundamental role, because the bass line is more. You always need a bass line. You don't always need a riff, but you usually always need a bass line. So the riff is established, I think, through the bass line. And so another technique here is just modulation, just moving to a different key. Dewprism used a technique of transposition where the harmony was exactly the same, but the harmony was just transposed. Here he actually, I wouldn't say it's exactly transposing, because the sections aren't exactly the same, but he just modulates, and it's like an entire section that is just like a tonic chord section where it's just the one chord. He also adds and drops layers, and we'll see how he does that in the intro, where he sets up this anticipatory section where we lead right to the A section where the story sort of begins. So we add in the beats in the second line, but he drops it right at bar 8 for dramatic effect before the A section comes in. So again, adding and dropping layers. And then B section, that's to keep in mind, changes in energy levels. So we'll just listen to that. Read it. Here. Dropping the beat. Let me get right back to the I section. Again, something interesting here he does harmonically is he uses the flat 7, flat 6 chord, flat 6 and flat 7 chord again, which we saw in Heart of Fire from Castlevania. So again, it's a staple in a staple progression in video game music, and especially Japanese video game music. Here he uses a sus4 chord instead of as a tonic for the tonic. And what else? Yeah, and again, he uses the form IABC, which is basically the main form that we looked at today. He started off with E minor in the A section, I section and A section. And in the B section, he moved to F sharp minor. So that's a 2 semitones up, so a minor, sorry, not, yeah, major second modulation up. Again, he worked with layers as well, in that it probably happened super fast, but in that second B line there, he changed the beats for that section were just more intense. And in that last C section, he drops a layer or two. Drop here. And again, this piece uses that main riff that in the bass line, da 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 da. Like throughout the song, it uses that. So there is that. I have to log off because the minute that it's running out of time. Again, yeah, so.
Let's take the break to just like reset the Zoom and
Okay,
then
yeah, sure.
don't cut you off.
Okay, cool.
All right, so just reset it real quick and just like use the same link.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna log off and come back.
All right.
All right. Okay.
Right, this is really great. I think the pace is like going perfect.
All right. So, okay, last tune of the day. So this is Paradigm Shift from Final Fantasy III, and the style is electronic classical fusion. Masashi Hamauzu is a master of video game composition overall. He's also a very accomplished classical musician. A note about these composers, like they're like fine musicians in their own rights outside of video game music. Like Yasudun Mitsuda played in bands as a jazz musician. Masashi Hamauzu is just more classically influenced. So this is what is in 2009, Final Fantasy III. And for this last tune, I want you guys to notice what techniques are used based on some of the things that I mentioned, and see if you guys can notice anything. And then after that, we're gonna move to my computer and actually look at the MIDI transcription of this piece. So we're gonna give this a listen and just tell me what you guys, what techniques you guys hear. Just think about that. The structure, melody, the form, arrangement, anything that I just talked about today. So just give that a listen now. All right. So just turn off the volume here. That's from here. So can you guys tell me what you guys just throw out anything you guys heard when it comes to form, arrange, anything you noticed compositionally he did, techniques that he used?
Like pretty constant baseline.
Constant baseline. Yep.
Beats, Austin said beats on the back.
Did anybody notice what? Okay, so did anybody notice the structure of the piece? What was the structure?
Pretty much from ABA. Intro ABA.
Anything?
There's a what, Trey?
There's a bit. That was very good.
Right. Yeah, I feel like try speaking up louder because like the mic feels like here.
Yeah.
Intro ABA.
Intro. You said intro ABA.
Yes, I did.
Close, but not quite. I see what you're saying. Very super close. Intro A. And what type of intro was that?
IA.
I think it was IA. So did anybody, so the structure of the piece was essentially intro A, so IA, and then ABC. So basically similar to most of the tunes we were looking at today. Did anybody notice anything about the B section? It came super fast, so I'm going to show you guys on the actual transcription, but I'm curious if Anything you guys heard? I know it's a first listen. It's hard to catch everything.
Much faster harmonic movement during the E section, and a lot more all over the place.
He actually changed. So we had that violin melody for the A section, but when we went to the B, he dropped that violin melody and used a different, like a synth melody. And then in the C section, he brought the violin back. So here are the answers. So yeah, form uses IA. Form, he uses a weak B section. So that's where the energy level lowers. He uses the riff. It's different from the riffs that we looked at because it's more of like a orchestral riff. Dun, 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 dun. So I consider that a riff. Yeah, melodically he changes the instruments in the new section, and something new that I'm going to talk here, he changes the register of that melody in the A section. He moves up an octave within the A section. So let me see if I can share a screen. Yes, I can. Okay, so I'm going to use this. Stop share. Are you guys hearing me? You guys hearing me? Is this working? Cool. Awesome.
Yeah, we can.
So now we actually, this is the third way of looking at
I just want to point out
of
people
studying
really
video game
appreciating
music
the
is by
FL
actually looking at the transcription. So I found this online and it's not 100, I'm sure it's probably not 100% accurate, but there, it's good enough. It's like even like 90% accuracy is a valuable resource. So this is the tune that we just listened to. Let me just test the sound here. You guys hearing this?
Yeah, we are.
You guys hearing the music, right?
Yeah, we're hearing the music.
Awesome. Okay, so let's boil it down to, so this is the equivalent of score study in classical music or film music and jazz. We don't have actual like sheet music for this, but the closest we can get are transcriptions. So we have that our regular rhythm section where we have the drums, we have the bass, and we have our, we don't have, our chordal instrument here is more of like the strings. We don't have the piano or guitar, and we have a riff and then our melody. So the only special thing I guess here is like the riff, as opposed to like when we're comparing to like our regular jazzy arrangements. So again, yeah, so here's the violin melody, and in the B section in the middle, the high synths take it. So I'm just going to walk you guys through this. So here's our drums. That establishes the basic groove. Violin comes in. All right. So let's see how he does it. Drum wise, it's like a really you just when you're looking at transcription, you just need to take the time and just look at analyze the drums the way you would in a jazz recording or whatever. Here, this is how he does the bass, drums. It's actually a really simple groove. So we have the closed hats are and then open hats only kicks and snares. So snares on beats 2 and 4, and the kicks on beat 1. The and of 2, so 2 E and of 2, and then and of 3. So that establishes your basic groove, which stays throughout the entire. There's not a whole lot of variation. I guess maybe like the last part, but essentially it's same. The groove is the drum parts are really simple, and there's the crash cymbals when we get to a new section. Crash cymbals. So that's basically the drum part, and as for the bass line, we see
the bass change, the bass pattern change in the A sections, B sections, and C sections. So I don't need to walk you guys through it. You guys are you guys are musicians. So that's kind of how it goes. The first bass line. We can study that. But when we get to that new B section right here, when the violin, we have that violin melody in the A section. Now here's our B section. The bass line changes. It's a little bit groovier here. So it gets a little bit more groovier in this sort of weak section where the violin comes out. Here the piano or the synths, the high synths are taking the melody as opposed to the violin. Then we get to the C section where the violin comes back in. And we have, and the bass line is just more suave here. Da, 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 da. That, and then so we covered the drums and the bass, and this is how the riff works. This is the riff, which is really straightforward, which occurs throughout. And then violin melody here. He states the melody and he moves it up an octave. So that's the technique of changing the register. Call, response. Now same thing up an octave. Call, response. Change the melody instrument. Now the synth takes the melody. Call, response. And then violin comes back in. So this is like a quick tour of MIDI transcriptions. Now I'm going to get back to you. You guys are hearing me okay now? Cool. Just a little bit here. Okay, a little bit migration here. Okay, let's share the video. So I'm going to share screen again. All right, so that was a quick tour of paradigm shift. Here are the techniques that we used: a weak section in the B, arrangements, riffs, melody, IA, change the instrument in the B section, change the register of the instrument, of the melody. So yeah, paradigm shift, which is an amazing, legendary piece. So I showed you guys a bunch of forms today, and there are long forms too, which we're not going to look at today, but just to let you guys know that it's not limited. The sky's the limit. There's like really crazy forms out there, and something like I, A, B, C, D, E, F, where every section is completely different, and there's just like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 sections that are completely different, but it just works together seamlessly. There's a pyramid structure where it's I A B C C B B A A. So it's like it's like a palindrome, but you transpose sections along the way. But they're just really creative masters. So we looked at mainly at IABC today. So again, these are essential skills to study video game music. You need to learn how to understand lead sheets and study MIDI transcriptions. That's the video composer's way of version of score study, like the way classical musicians would, film students would. These are our resources. And then just like jazz musicians transcribe their favorite solo, just like how Bach would copy entire scores of Vivaldi back in the Baroque era, it's a great practice to transcribe our favorite video game tracks, both to understand the language and understand how it's constructed, understand everything compositionally, and also train your ear. And a fourth thing that that's not necessarily often talked about is just modeling, writing a piece of new music based off of an existing piece. So that's a jazz thing and a classical thing. So so there we go. I want to just so you put this in practice. So students in my class did all these exercises. So here's a transcription of The Secret of the Force, which we just looked at earlier. If that is working.
Hey Eric, just a heads
Yeah.
up. So we have 5 minutes left, and we have like a class at this room. Right after
Okay.
that, like we need to like
Yeah.
wrap it up as soon as
Yeah, I'm
possible.
wrapping up. Yeah, okay, yeah.
But so sorry about that.
Yeah, no problems. Yeah, yeah. So that was a transcription, and then there was Passing Through the Forest, which was a model. So he wrote melody over the same progressions. That was just a model of the Dewprism piece that we looked at. I won't show you the whole thing. Lastly, composing original tracks and just putting everything you learned together. So this is a student piece, and I'll show you basically the techniques that he used here. Student composition, IABC form. Start with a riff. So that's just the piece, and basically put everything together, worked with the transposition, use the IABC form, used the 1 chord, flat 6 chord, flat 7 chord, worked, changed melody instruments, just threw everything into an original piece. And that's just to show, just to illustrate how you can apply these practical tools in your own game compositions.
Right, that's perfect. Unfortunately, we're really out of time
Yeah,
now.
we have
Okay,
to.
cool.
We have to like
Okay,
get going. But
alright.
thank you so
I
much for
meant,
the
yeah,
presentation.
This
It
was
was
an
amazing.
presentation.
I'll send you the
yes.
recordings afterwards.
Okay.
But yeah, just like thanks a lot. Thanks a lot.
Can I leave my contact information too? Like just send them an email or something.
Yeah,
We'll,
definitely.
we'll put it
Definitely.
in our Discord.
Yeah, I'll put it in the Discord.
Yeah, because another thing, last thing, I have yeah, if anyone's interested in yeah, okay. Yeah, if anyone's interested, I'm teaching a class over summer, possibly like on this content. So reach out to me if you're interested.
Yeah, can you email me the info and I'll put it
Yeah.
on the Discord. And I'll
Okay.
do
Yeah,
this.
we'll put it up. Thank you so much.
All right, Eric. Thank you so much.
Take
Have a
care.
good one. Take care.
Yeah.
Sorry about that. Oh my gosh.